Welcome back to Sunrise Today. We're keeping our focus on the suspended elections. That's what INEC said it is. They said they didn't cancel it. But yes, continuing with this one, and perhaps this will be a concluding session on this one before we go to break. But clearly, the violence in the state cannot, we can't keep having elections like this in any states, in rivers as well, inclusive. But some of the comments that INEC was making about security and its importance in that election, they said that they have this interagency cooperation between security agencies, which makes it nice and easy for them to conduct elections. And so while they were speaking about the police were actually part of that. But they then said, look, they don't, because the policemen who are at election venue don't bear arms. But they said the chaps who were moving with some of those other politicians, they had a lot of arms. So the question then is, in order for us to trace, how do we ensure this stops? First of all, those who were bearing arms clearly had no business in some of those areas that they were in. Should we then critically examine the role of those who were those persons who were bearing arms? He says he suspects that they were men from SARS. Isn't it of concern or interest to you that, number one, if any of those who were bearing arms are found to be members of SARS, whoever they were, we should be able to investigate them and find out if really and truly that's the case?
Exactly. That's the point I've made here. And I'm repeating it again. I said both sides have made allegations against security personnel. It is for the authority of the police security to carry out investigation and come to a conclusion as to which side is saying the truth. But on the issue of violence, as I said, it is the wish of APC that election will come to the point where people will just stroll into the polling center and vote and then come out. It is not a war. It shouldn't be war. In 2015, when it happened and over 1,000 Rivers people were killed, families exterminated just like that, we kicked against it. In 2016, when it repeated itself, we kicked against it. In 2018, we are going to kick against it. The only addition that we have just said is that we can no longer continue to wait for, sit back and allow a gentleman assume propriety of violence and begin to cause mayhem in the state, all in the nation of putting himself up in power. When they do that this time around, that we're going to resist them. That's all that we have said. We won't allow people to take over, assume, expertise in violence and go to polling station, shoot people, kill people, and then walk away. No, this time we won't let that happen again.
I'm just wondering, because if you say that those images you saw, if you confirm that they are SARS, the governor made that broadcast about the police, but how do you resolve those kind of issues if you don't have confidence in the police? Because that's where you have to report these cases to in the first instance.
Very, very simple. I have said it that I am not interested in so much of rhetorics. The issue at stake is there a probability or is there any ground to believe that what I am saying is right as against what he's saying? The answer is yes. Recall that after 2015 election in Rivers State, there were several rerun elections. And in each of those rerun elections, the SARS played a dominant role for the APC. This is what has brought SARS into conflict, particularly their commander, into conflict with Rivers State government, which was the reason why we called for his removal. Because we know that he is a politician wearing police uniform and bearing dangerous arms. That is why we say remove him. Two, recall that following those violent situations we had since after 2015 election, particularly in 2016, the INEC set up an administrative panel. The administrative panel came out with a report, headed by a professor, of course, thoroughly indicted security agencies, and particularly singled out SARS commander, Mr. Akefakorode, and had unprintable words about him. This was published in the newspapers. The same man was promoted to an assistant commissioner of police, which shouldn't be heading a SARS, moved to Yobe State. 4 days later, he was returned to Port Harcourt to continue to head SARS. The question we are asking, Inspector General of Police, what is Akefakorede doing in SARS Rivers State? Are you not hearing the complaints of the people of Rivers State that this man is perpetrating atrocities against the will of
Can I answer
the
that now?
people to free and fair election. What have we seen? The man has continued to operate there, and the same incident happened again. The answer is very simple.
Can I answer
and
that?
we go to the videos we have provided. We've supplied the video where this young man, the factional chairman of APC, went with these armed SARS people, not wearing police uniform, went with 5 Hilux trucks to this place. Those trucks were impounded. I'm not saying they were not, they were impounded. They should find out who led those trucks.
Honorable Commissioner, let's just for one moment take a look back. When we talk about the influence or the partiality or politicization of institutions, we know that during the rerun, we heard from the governor of Rivers State, of course, on national TV. He would say things like, you know, any INEC official that comes to Rivers State thinking he's going to rig election should write his will before he comes here, because it's not going to be tolerated, essentially. Since then, we have not heard complaints from the governor of Rivers State about INEC. We have heard complaints about INEC from the APC in this state. We've heard it from the Minister of Transport. We've heard it again from Mr. Archie Wobodo. But when we hear from you, we hear complaints about the security architecture, particularly SARS. But when we hear from Mr. Wobodo, we don't hear complaints about SARS. And the reason why I bring that up is it appears that depending on the institution, maybe one is under the grip of somebody while another institution is under the grip of another person, and both parties complain accordingly. So the question is, what happens now in terms of having an election that is free and fair and credible, where the institutions that are supposed to do their work are doing so without being politicized?
Can I speak?
I addressed that to him. You will
respond.
respond.
Are entirely wrong relating to whether there's a possibility that one arm is under the control of another. What we're expecting in Rivers State, people, the electorates, should be able, in an atmosphere that is devoid of violence, go cast their vote and expect that their votes will count. That is the minimum standard we're expecting in Rivers State. We don't expect the INEC to do us a favor in PDP. We don't expect that. We don't expect the police to do us a favor, because if I'm going to win a match, why do I need to employ underhand tactics? I don't need that. In Rivers State, there's no way PDP will not win election. There's just no way it will not happen. Now, the point remains very clear. Nigeria must face the issue of Rivers State. There's no point pretending. There's a problem in Rivers State, and we are glossing it over. Something has just happened, and I'm telling you, go and look. This is who caused the problem on Saturday. Because you cannot be going back to 2015, 1999. You must know who caused the problem of yesterday.
No, of course.
That's a very important
Please, can I comment? Please, can I comment? Those SARS officers who were there when they were not supposed to be there, when there was restriction of movement, must be questioned. You've listened to the Commissioner of Police. I want to sympathize with him. You know why I sympathize with him? When he says the police is not involved. Truly, those SARS people don't take command from him. Truly, that is the truth in Rivers State. So when he tells you the police that he deployed cannot be taken, cannot take responsibility for what happened, he possibly may be saying the truth. But to say that police is not involved on a general platform is wrong.
Mr. Wobodo,
because SARS people are also police.
You've been waiting to respond.
Yeah, please let me bring back the issue to the point where you've asked. Let me situate it back. For APC, we do not have any problem with. We have grievances with some officials of INEC, like I have just mentioned, that he doesn't have powers to declare, to suspend an election.
The commissioner is who
yes, commissioner. I've said that, and that's all. Now, when it comes to the police, we also do not have any problem with any police officer, because we know the issue of SARS that they keep complaining about. Elections were not going on 3 months or 4 months. There was no by-election 3 months or 4 months when the governor paid for adverts to say this particular SARS officer should leave. Everybody who lives in Rivers State knows that there are dens of criminals, and these are people who the governor is keeping in wait for election, and anything that will affect.
No, but those advocates are talking about elections that happened previously.
Yeah, you're talking about elections that happened previously. Now, the gentleman has also said, like, listen, the report that you're talking about, I was not given opportunity of appearing before the committee. There was no fair hearing. You didn't call me to ask me any question, and then INEC came up with a report. You know, that's on fair hearing issue.